So for me, when I think back to how I overcame social anxiety, one of the key insights for me was realizing that I didn't always have social anxiety. Sure, I experienced anxiety and I had some shyness as a kid, but it was nowhere near as intense as it was during high school in my early 20s. This was so important for me to realize because it meant that I didn't always have social anxiety. And if that were the case, then maybe there was something I can do about it. Maybe this was just something I developed over time, and it was. This was one of the first realizations that I had on my journey of reversing social anxiety and depression. And it got me just curious enough to wonder, maybe there's something I can do about this. It was then that I wondered back to my childhood and thought, what was different back then as opposed to now? One thing I distinctly remember about my childhood was that I may have had shyness, may have had some anxiety in certain situations, but if there was something I really wanted to go to, say a birthday party or some other event, I would never turn it down. I wouldn't think beforehand about how uncomfortable it may be. I just went, and perhaps I might feel a little anxious, or perhaps I might have a blast. But the decision to go was never in question for me. Again, I'm talking about things I wanted to go to, things I was interested in, that I had a passion for. Then fast forward to my 20s, where there was maybe a concert or a movie or a restaurant that I wanted to try out. Maybe there was a job I was really interested in applying to. And now I was turning down these opportunities beforehand, before I even tried it, because I felt uncomfortable, because I thought I might have an embarrassing or awkward experience. I didn't look forward to things anymore. In fact, looking forward to things actually caused me more anxiety. I would tend to focus on what could go wrong instead of what could go right. In fact, the only time I would look forward was to try and anticipate possible pitfalls to avoid. Even now, just hearing myself say that and remembering back to a time when my anxiety was that high, I really just can't believe it. It was just so painful and stressful to live that way. Yet I became accustomed to it, and for a time I was convinced that I was doing all I could. So what did I do? Well, naturally, I wanted to go back to how things were before when I was younger, to a time where I got excited and looked forward to things, to a time where I was living more in the moment with curiosity and wonder. And because I knew how things were before, I knew it was possible to go back to it. So that's what I decided to do. I embarked on a journey that involved different therapies and modalities, spiritual practices, trauma work, research, health, wellness, you name it. It was an amazing journey that I'm actually still on to this day. Nowadays, the journey shifted from trying to get rid of anxiety and depression to becoming curious about unlocking new facets of myself, superpowers, if you will, and looking forward to new adventures and challenges. And yes, I still experience some social anxiety to this day. I still have my awkward moments, we all do. However, the difference nowadays is that the anxiety that I experience is no longer so overwhelming and no longer controls my life or my decisions. In fact, sometimes I think the anxiety is warranted. Like if I'm making a decision that's not in alignment with my truth or integrity. So I guess you could say it plays a more healthier role these days. So if you're someone who's struggling currently with social anxiety and maybe you haven't done any of the work and you're currently just feeling like this is too much for me to overcome. I am stuck. I don't know what to do. I feel hopeless. I feel like I'm going to have this my whole life. If that's where you're at, if you're at that level, you haven't done the work, maybe you're just starting out, you're right at the beginning, then consider what I realized, which is the possibility that maybe this isn't truly who you are. Maybe this is just something you develop and there's something you can do about it. If you could just get to the place where you feel like there's others out there who have dealt with this, maybe I can too. That small shift is a game changer. That's why I'm focusing on this so much. That small shift can help you go from disempowered to empowered. Just start there. Just start to undo the negative thinking. If you could just undo some of the hopelessness, some of the feelings of there's nothing I can do about this, that's a great place just to start. And then from there, take steps towards healing. Take care, guys. You're doing awesome. Keep going.